Yo, how's it going everyone? Mark here. Welcome back to MK Bricks. Here's an inside edition of the new 2022 LEGO Ideas, the Globe Building Set. Now this set took me about 6 to 7 hours to build. It is 21332. It retails for $199.99. And I'm going to talk about some pros and cons. There's definitely a little bit of both, but I will say I had a lot of fun building it. So let's go ahead and get started with all that, and maybe you'll decide after this if you want to pick it up or not. Yeah. So the first thing I want to bring up is the base, which is the first part of the set you're actually building. I didn't realize there was going to be no stickers in this set. This whole tile piece right here is actually a print with the map behind the earth font, and the fact that it's surrounded by a gold trim just makes this whole base look so elegant. We have a great color combination with the green, the blue, the gold, and the brown. And you have a little bit of black trim all around, and I think when we kind of go ahead and zoom in right here, you can see the black and the gold combination together, and it looks very elegant, which is nice. I'm a big fan of this whole layered piece right here with these curved pieces. I love just how nice and sleek that looks. For the most part, it looks very clean and very well put together. And then if we go ahead and move up a little, just you can see the part that holds the globe together. Now it's a little clunky looking. It's not as smooth as the base and whatnot. But if we go on up, you can see how it's all gapped up. That is a big con to me, but it's not so much that it bothers me to per se. It's more of a what else can you really do? I guess it's not terrible, but it is noticeable. I will say that the brown and gold trims look great. I do love the fact that this black piece right here allows you to spin the globe from the bottom. You also have it at the top right here, which let me bring that to the top. But you'll notice that the top part, the black piece right here, is covering the gray. And then if you go to the bottom, you'll see that there's a pretty exposed area of where the gray is at. It was something I was a little confused by as I was putting it together, because I thought maybe I missed a piece, but it's actually supposed to be like that. So if you kind of freak out and you're like wondering what did I miss, you didn't miss anything. That's just how it's supposed to be. Now I'm going to go ahead and spin this around a little bit. You'll see that it's pretty much covered up by these two pieces right here. So it does a pretty good job at covering up most things. I mean, you can see under the globe there's some exposed colors like gray and black and whatnot. I mean, it's just a little weird, nothing too crazy, but it's there, and I'm not too bothered by it. Now, if I spin it to this side, you'll see that the gold and the brown continues all around here. So you have some exposed gray right here, right down here. I mean, all around you can see a little bit of red in there too. So it is what it is. Once again, it's not terrible. It's not the main focus of the set. You'll just notice it as you're putting it together, but you kind of forget it's there overall. So it looks good. It looks good. I'm okay with it. I do love the color combination, but those exposed gaps in those gray and black and slightly red pieces that they do show, it's kind of like, ugh. But it's okay. I do want to quickly point out one thing as well before we get into the globe, but when you look under this base, you'll actually notice, I'm going to try not to mess this up, when you turn it upside down, you'll see that there's rubber stoppers here. You could actually see how many they put down. I think it's 8 right there. But it's nice because when you put it down, there's no give at all. It literally stays in place. So as you're turning it, it'll hold nice. It's not moving around. It's not slipping at all. It's wonderful. It's very well put together and very well created. So this was a very genius idea. It was very good. So I'm glad that they thought of that before releasing the product. So let's go ahead and acknowledge the globe, because that's the main focus of this whole set. But you could see why in a second that Africa was the display for the box art and everything else. Africa looks really clean and it looks very great with the color combinations of the gray and the tan. It looks very accurate. Even when you go to the bottom, you can see Madagascar down here. So it's a very accurate description of Africa. But when you kind of move up and you look at Europe, you're kind of like, this is a little messy. I'm not very familiar with Europe's layout overall. I mean, I just think it looks very hard to decipher what is what. You can't tell which country is what. So that is one of the sets that or not one of the sets, but one of the continents that bother me the most, just because it's hard to make out what is what. Now, if we go ahead and we spin this around a little bit, you'll see that we have the Indian Ocean. You have a lot of blue here, so they're not going to obviously display that on the box art because it's pretty bare. If we go ahead and go to Asia, you'll see that Asia, it looks pretty good. I'm okay with Asia. I love that, we have some of the dry areas in Asia as well as the more green areas. And then you can see that these, little tiny tile pieces are making up the rest of the land. And then if we move on down, you'll see that there's Australia, and Australia looks pretty good too. So I'm a fan of that. Too bad it's, it is hidden at the bottom a little more, but that's just how it is supposed to be. It looks great. And then you have a couple of, circular tiles down here and a little more down here. So it's a pretty hidden continent, and that is what it is. We have the Pacific Ocean here. Once again, it's very bare, but you have the Mayflower, which is a nice little addition that I totally didn't expect to see. I actually really didn't pay too much attention to the actual set when they first announced it. I was planning on getting it just because obviously it's a globe. I'm a teacher, and I think this kind of correlates hand in hand, but the fact that they added the Mayflower here was a really nice surprise. I'm a big fan of that. It kind of reminds me of a ship in a bottle, but I mean, it's not really the same thing, but at the same time, it works well. So I'm a fan of that. I like how they added some more land on top. And then we move on to North America. North America is pretty okay. I obviously being an American, I can tell what is what. So I can tell California is right here. You got Mexico, Canada up here, and then you have just your states in general. Florida is supposed to be over here. It's for Florida. And then you have your northeastern states. So overall, North America is pretty nice. I'm a fan of it. And then if we move on down, you go down to South America. Now, South America is pretty good as well. If you come down here, you'll see that there is a very skinny piece, or I should say setup. And that's supposed to be like that. I think they could have probably added a little more, but I think that's really how it's supposed to be. I was kind of taking a look, kind of comparing the continent, and it's a pretty good, I guess, it's pretty good. I'll just say that. It's pretty good. It's not amazing, but it's good. You know that it's South America just by looking at it. And then you have the Atlantic Ocean, and then you have this nice little compass looking symbol here, which I'm a fan of. I was also surprised by that. I didn't expect to see that at all. So they do try to fill up the ocean a little more, but just adding these extra little pieces like the compass and the Mayflower over here. So it doesn't look so bare. And then if we go ahead and we spin this, well, we're not going to spin that. We're going to look under here. You can see that there's Antarctica. Antarctica is pretty cool. I'm liking the fact that they added those there. And you can see that some pieces come out and whatnot. So it's nice. They don't keep it too boring, but you're not really going to be looking under there, at all. And I don't think you would for a regular globe. And then if we go to the top, you'll see here is the Arctic Ocean. So all these things that they add, like these tiles that tell you what they are, the Arctic Ocean, you have Europe, Asia, North America, Africa, whatnot. They all glow in the dark. This is a really cool thing. So I'm going to go ahead and shut the lights off and we'll see if this works real quick. But it's really cool and I'm going to show you right now. So it's dark, obviously. You could tell that it's there. I could see it more than the camera is really picking it up. But you'll notice where everything is kind of, it's lighting up. It's kind of cool. You'll see it at night and you're just kind of looking at it when you're probably laying in bed if it's in your room. And you're like, okay, I know where you are, Asia. I see you, Africa. There you are. But it's a cool little feature. You see it better in person. The camera's not getting it as well. You definitely need a bright light to lighten it up. I'm going to go ahead and turn the lights back on because I'm just talking in the dark and it's kind of ridiculous. But this is cool. I'm digging this set. Now, the one thing I want to bring up real quick before we end this video is the spinning portion, this function right here where you actually spin it around. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit and you can see how smooth that is. There's no restraint. There's no tension, nothing. It's weighted, but it's very smooth. You just turn it, no noise at all. It's perfect. This is such a great function, and it's probably my favorite part of the set. Obviously, just looking at it looks good, but this is just so cool. I love that they did that. One final thing to bring up is I talked about the gaps here. Okay, now if you look at the gaps, you can see through them. You can see that there's lighting coming out from the other end, and it's pretty dark for the most part. My wife came into the room when I was building this set, and she goes, why are there so many gaps? And I'm like, well, that's just how it's supposed to be. I will say this, once you're done and you're finished displaying it, you kind of ignore it for a moment. You're kind of just really impressed with the overall setup. It does look great on display. It's just not going to be like an actual globe. It's not going to be perfectly circular. It's not going to be as smooth. It is a Lego set. You have to accept that. It's just what it is. They did a great job putting it together. I admire it. You're going to ignore these gaps over time. It's just something that kind of becomes invisible to the eye. But that's that. This is the globe set. It looks great. So my final thoughts real quick is, you're looking at this globe, you see the gaps in between. That's the first thing you're going to notice once you're probably really further along putting this together. It did take me about 6 to 7 hours to build, but as you kind of get towards completion, and actually once you do reach completion, you kind of forget about the gaps overall, and you're just looking at everything as how beautiful it is. I mean, you notice the dry lands, the greenlands, the water and all that. So it really comes together, and I don't think it's something that really became more of a burden over time. You kind of just forget about it. So I mean, for $200, it's not a bad price for what this is. It's heavy. It looks great. It looks beautiful on display. I highly recommend it. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, because this was a fun set to build. And I think when you pick this up, you'll realize that yes, it's a bit of a repetitive build. You have, each strip right here it's literally strips just being attached, and you're making like a puzzle with these pieces of land. You're just putting them together, and that's the exciting part of it. So while it is repetitive, it doesn't really get boring. It actually becomes something that you end up kind of doing faster over time, because you figure it out. Like, you just don't have to look at the booklet really much anymore until you get to all the land pieces. So it is a great build. I highly recommend picking it up. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Take care.